The loud clatter from my kitchen yanked me out of a restless sleep at 3 in the morning. Heart pounding, I snatched the baseball bat from the closet and made my way downstairs expecting the worst, but what I saw stopped me cold. A young man, no older than 30, standing by the open fridge, scarfing down a sandwich like he hadn't eaten in days. "Who the hell are you?" I demanded, voice low and shaking as I raised the bat higher. The guy froze mid-bite, his dark eyes wide with exhaustion and fear. He was tall with messy brown hair, stubble, shadowing his jaw, and clothes that looked like they'd seen too many nights on the street. "Please don't call the cops," he said quickly, setting the sandwich down on the counter. His hands went up, palms open. "I know this looks bad." The back door was unlocked. I was starving, and I didn't take anything valuable. Just food. "I'm sorry, man. I'll leave right now." I should have dialed 911. Any normal person would have. But something in his voice, the raw desperation, mixed with a kind of quiet dignity, held me back. "My name is Ryan Thompson, 35 years old, high school history teacher, living in a quiet suburb outside Chicago in a house that felt too big since my last relationship ended 3 years ago. On paper, my life looked stable. In reality, it was a carefully built wall hiding everything I was terrified to face. "Stay where you are," I said, lowering the bat just a fraction. "How did you get in?" "Back door." It wasn't latched all the way. I saw the light from the street, and I was desperate. "Haven't eaten since yesterday morning." He swallowed hard. "Name's Jordan Hale. I'm not a thief. Just lost." We stood there in the dim light of the range, hood the refrigerator humming like it was judging both of us. I studied him closer. There was no aggression in his posture, only weariness. Something about his eyes reminded me of nights I'd spent staring at my own reflection, wondering why I could never seem to fit the mold everyone expected. "Sit down," I heard myself say before my brain could catch up. I nodded toward the kitchen table. "Don't move. I'm making coffee." Jordan hesitated, then pulled out a chair slowly, as if expecting me to change my mind. While the coffee brewed, I kept one eye on him, my mind racing. Why wasn't I calling the police? Because he looked like someone who had already been through enough? Or because for the first time in years the house didn't feel quite so empty? We talked for over an hour as the sky outside began to lighten. Jordan told me pieces of his story in careful fragments. He had been working construction in Indiana until a bad breakup left him without a place to stay. His family back in Ohio had cut ties years ago. When I asked why, he looked away. "Some things are harder to explain to people who think they already know who you are," he said quietly. I knew that feeling too well. My parents still asked about nice girls at every Sunday dinner. My sister kept setting me up with her coworkers, and I smiled through it all, carrying the secret that had started in college when I realized the way I looked at my roommate wasn't how straight guys looked at their friends. I'd buried it deep, built a life around silence. By the time the sun rose, I had made eggs and toast. Jordan ate like a man who had forgotten food could be warm. "Why are you helping me?" he asked finally. I didn't have a good answer. Because everyone deserves one night where someone doesn't turn them away. That was the first lie I told myself that morning. The truth was more complicated. Something in Jordan's quiet strength had cracked the wall I had spent years reinforcing. As he showered in the guest bathroom, using towels I rarely touched, I sat at the kitchen table wondering what the hell I was doing letting a stranger stay under my roof. The next day passed in a strange rhythm of cautious conversation and careful distance. Jordan helped me fix the loose latch on the back door, as if repaying the food and the couch. His hands were calloused from years of manual labor, but his movements were gentle. We didn't talk much about the future. Instead, we circled around safer topics like Chicago sports and bad movies from the 90s. By afternoon, I had called in sick to work, something I never did. The truth was I couldn't stop thinking about the way Jordan's shoulders relaxed when he realized I wasn't going to throw him out. Over lunch, he opened up more. His parents had discovered letters from his first boyfriend when he was 20. The shouting, the ultimatum, the final slam door. He had been drifting ever since, moving from job to job, trying to outrun the shame they planted in him. I thought if I just kept my head down, worked hard, eventually it would stop hurting, he said, staring at his coffee. But it doesn't. You learn to live with it like a shadow that follows you everywhere. His words hit too close. I told him about my teaching job, about the students who trusted me with their own struggles. I didn't tell him how many nights I lay awake wondering if I was a coward for never saying the words out loud. Not to my family, not to my colleagues, not even to myself most days. That evening, we sat on the back porch with beers I had in the fridge. The air was cool for early fall. Jordan asked about my last relationship. I gave the safe answer about a girl named Sarah who moved to California. He didn't push, but I caught the way he studied me like he could see the gaps in the story. Later that night, after Jordan had gone to sleep on the couch, I stood in the hallway listening to his steady breathing. For the first time in years, the house felt alive. The feeling scared me more than the break-in had. I had built my life around control, and here was a man who had shattered the illusion in one night. The next morning brought the first real test. My sister Emily called, saying she was stopping by with groceries. She lived 20 minutes away and had a habit of dropping in unannounced. I panicked. Jordan offered to hide in the guest room, but I shook my head. Just stay upstairs. I'll handle it. Emily arrived with bags of vegetables and questions. You look tired, Ryan. Everything okay? She glanced around the kitchen, noticing the extra plate in the sink. I made up a story about a friend from work staying over after a late night. She bought it, but her eyes lingered on the hoodie Jordan had left draped over a chair. After she left, Jordan came down the stairs. That was close, he said. Too close. I rubbed my face. Look, Jordan, I can't keep doing this forever. You need a plan. He nodded, but there was something vulnerable in his expression. I know. I haven't felt safe in a long time. Being here, it feels different. Our eyes met and the air shifted. Neither of us said what we were both thinking. That night, we stayed up late talking about dreams we had given up on. Jordan wanted to go back to school for social work. I admitted I had once thought about writing a book about forgotten American history, the kind they don't teach in classrooms. The conversation felt easy, natural, dangerous. By the end of the week, Jordan had found a temporary job at a local warehouse through a contact I knew. He insisted on paying rent, even if it was just groceries and helping with chores. I told myself it was temporary, that I was just being a decent person. But every morning when I saw him making coffee, the lie grew thinner. The turning point came on a rainy Thursday. I came home from work to find Jordan on the phone in the kitchen, his voice tight. He hung up quickly. My ex, he explained. He found out where I am. Not dangerous, just persistent. Wants to talk. I felt an unexpected surge of protectiveness. We ended up cooking dinner together, spaghetti and meatballs from a recipe my mom used to make. As we chopped vegetables side by side, our hands brushed. Jordan pulled back first, but not before I saw the same flicker in his eyes that I felt in my chest. That night, after dinner, we sat on the couch watching an old documentary. Halfway through, Jordan turned to me. Ryan, why haven't you called the police yet? Be honest. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Because the first time I looked at you, I didn't see a stranger. I saw someone who understood what it's like to carry something heavy alone. The confession hung between us. Jordan didn't push, but he shifted closer. I've been carrying it since I was a kid, too. Being gay in a family that quoted the Bible like a weapon. I thought Chicago might be different. Then I ended up on your doorstep. We talked until midnight. I told him about the college roommate I never had the courage to approach, about the panic attacks I hid from everyone. Jordan listened without judgment. When he reached out and squeezed my shoulder, the touch lingered. The next day brought conflict. At work, one of my colleagues mentioned seeing a new guy leaving my house early that morning. Rumors started small, but they had teeth in a conservative school district. I brushed it off, but the fear settled in my stomach. That evening, I snapped at Jordan over something trivial. He took it quietly, then said, "If I'm causing problems, I can leave." "No," I said quickly. "Stay, please." The word came out softer than I intended. Jordan looked at me for a long moment. "Okay, but Ryan, you don't owe me anything." I owed myself something, though. The courage to stop pretending. Tension built steadily over the following weeks. Jordan's ex showed up at the warehouse, causing a scene. Jordan came home bruised, not physically, but emotionally. We sat on the porch again, this time with no beers, just honest words. He told me about the years he spent trying to be someone else. I told him about the family dinners where my mother hinted about grandchildren. "You're not alone in this," I said. "Neither are you," he replied. Our first kiss happened quietly on a Tuesday night after a long day. It wasn't dramatic, just a soft press of lips born from shared exhaustion and understanding. No fireworks, just the feeling of something finally clicking into place. We pulled back, both surprised but neither regretful. The next morning, reality crashed in. My parents announced an unannounced visit for the weekend. My father was a retired cop with strong opinions about the way things should be. The thought of them meeting Jordan filled me with dread. We spent the week preparing. Jordan offered to stay at a motel. I refused. Instead, we practiced stories about how we met at a teacher's conference. It felt wrong hiding, but necessary. The visit went better than expected at first. My mother liked Jordan's manners. My father talked sports with him. But Sunday afternoon, my sister pulled me aside. "Ryan, what's going on with you two? You look at him the way I looked at my husband before we got married." I froze. That night, after everyone left, Jordan and I argued for the first time. He accused me of being ashamed. I accused him of not understanding the pressure. We both said things we didn't mean. He slept on the couch. I lay awake upstairs wondering if love was supposed to hurt this much. The misunderstanding deepened when Jordan's old friend from Indiana called offering him a job across the state. Jordan didn't tell me right away. When I found out, I felt betrayed. "You were just going to leave? I thought you wanted your old life back," he said quietly. We didn't speak for 2 days. The house felt colder than the night he first broke in. The breaking point came on a cold November evening. Jordan's ex showed up at the house drunk and angry, shouting accusations on the front lawn. Neighbors watched. I stepped outside, heart racing, and told the man to leave. Jordan stood beside me. When the ex finally drove away, we went inside, and the truth poured out. "I can't keep hiding Ryan," Jordan said. "Not from the world, not from your family, and not from myself." His words forced me to look at my own fear. That weekend, I drove to my parents' house alone. The conversation was harder than anything I'd ever done. Tears were shed. My father went quiet. My mother hugged me tightly and whispered that she just wanted me happy. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. When I returned, Jordan was packing a small bag. "I thought you might need space," he said. I dropped my keys and crossed the room, pulling him into a hug. "I need you." We spent the night talking about the future. Jordan decided to stay in Chicago. I started seeing a therapist to work through years of shame. Small steps, but each one felt like progress. Work became complicated. A parent complained about inappropriate influences after hearing rumors. The principal called me in for a meeting. I defended myself calmly, explaining that my personal life didn't affect my teaching. To my surprise, several colleagues stood up for me, including one I never expected. Through it all, Jordan was there. We learned to cook new recipes, took long walks, and slowly let ourselves imagine a life together. The fear didn't disappear, but it grew smaller beside the growing certainty that this was right. Spring arrived with warmer days and new possibilities. Jordan enrolled in community college for social work classes. I finished the first chapter of the book I had always talked about writing. We moved into a larger apartment together, closer to the city where the neighbors minded their own business. There were still hard moments. My father struggled with acceptance. At first, though, he eventually came around after meeting Jordan properly. Friends from my old life drifted away, while new ones appeared who celebrated us openly. The internal voice that once whispered I was broken grew quieter with every day I chose honesty. One evening, we returned to my old house to pack the last boxes. Standing in the kitchen where it all began, Jordan smiled. Funny how a broken latch changed everything. I laughed and pulled him close. Best mistake I never reported. Our story wasn't perfect. It had misunderstandings, sacrifices, and nights of doubt. But it was ours, built on courage and the kind of love that grows stronger when tested. Looking back, I realized the real stranger that night wasn't Jordan. It was the version of myself I had been too afraid to meet. True or false? Sometimes protecting the person you love means choosing them over the safety of the life you always knew.